Hi there, greetings and salutations. I don't even know what number episode this is for us, Derek. I'm guesstimating somewhere around 218?
219.
219?
Yeah.
Oh, 219.
Yeah.
Give it up for Lafayette, right?
Well, Lafayette 765.
Okay, give it up for old school Lafayette.
Oh, did it used to be 219? Yeah, Lafayette's always been 765 since I've been here in the 20-plus years that I've been in Indiana.
I guarantee you there are still numbers in Lafayette that's 219.
No, 219 would be like the region, right?
219's
Wouldn't that be like Valpo? Like Maryville?
Yeah, I mean, anything from like
no, 765 is Lafayette. Yeah. I'm a Purdue employee, I know.
I understand.
I know people in Lebanon.
I guarantee you there are people that listen and watch this program living in Lafayette who have a 219 area code.
I mean, I live in Indy, and I still have an 812 because I got it in Bloomington. So there are people that are from Valpo or Maryville that might have a cell phone that now live in Lafayette that have a 219 area code. So I won't dispute that.
I'm telling you. 219, Lafayette.
No.
Nonetheless, it is cold
Burger Chef
outside.
Closed. I mean, things change, Jake.
Okay. Well, clearly you and I did not get together with one another on what we were going to change into for this program because I'm a little embarrassed that we're like twins today, but it's because it's like -10 outside. It's polar vortex. We're both wearing hoods.
Mine's more blue. Mine's more blue. Yours is black. We both look comfy.
This is navy blue.
That's black. Yeah, dude, that's not navy. Does that look navy on the camera, Steve Vince?
This is navy blue.
It's a black hoodie.
This is as navy blue as it gets, partially because it is in honor of Joel Cornette.
Okay, well, Rake obviously disagrees with me with that. Hi, Greg, with that comment.
Derek.
That looks black to me.
The sweatshirt says "We are still here." The initials of the Joel Cornette Foundation on the side.
Yeah.
It's for Joel Cornette of Butler saying "We are still here" during the NCAA tournament. But what's Butler's colors?
Didn't they wear black in those tournaments with those black jerseys? Or they're very, very dark navy blue? It's like opaque level navy blue.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's not. This is. I can't see your hand.
Show me my coat. My coat is black.
I can't see your hand. Here, if we're doing visual aids, here.
Do you not see it? Okay.
Area code map. Yeah, clearly 765 is Lafayette.
Do you not see a difference right there?
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit lighter. Barely.
Lafayette is 219 old school. I'm telling you.
All right, let's get the show moving here. People are already tuning out. I'm sure on YouTube we'll see that they're dropping like flies.
Yeah, okay.
They're dropping like flies.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's the thing that's going to make them drop even further. For whatever reason, despite the fact that the Indiana Pacers are undefeated in the year of 2025, that they've won 13 of 17 and 6 straight by double digits, Derek wants to lead our conversation today with the Colts.
Yeah, Vince is all mad. The problem is, Jake, is that we're taping this early Tuesday. Pacers play a big game tonight. So by the time you're watching this, Pacers will be playing again. And I'm always hesitant time sensitivity-wise with how we do the show. So I thought we would. And plus, I know the Ballard stuff feels like it was a month ago, but we haven't been back since he had his comments.
Okay, let's begin with that.
Yeah.
Chris Ballard was forthright. He was humble. He owned it. And he said things that if you did not make it there, if you were not at the press conference, I was not, for example, because we had an obligated work event beforehand, and so therefore I couldn't attend. And I got into the station just before I did my midday show on the Fan and said, okay, the Ballard audio. If for some reason our machines froze up or for some reason we didn't have a chance to cut it, don't worry about it. If you can go back and pull the Ballard audio from his postseason press conference from 2022 or 2024, whichever way you want to call last year, January of 24, same thing.
Yeah.
Says the same thing every year. I mean, look, guys, we're back at the drawing board. Fine. I will commend him for being upfront, but for about the third straight year, he was upfront in admitting that he erred in an area that everybody else told him was going to be an issue, and where he very smugly told people he was sticking by his belief in what he believed in, and he was going to be proven right. And again, the worthless, hapless pundits and everybody else, what they were talking about came true.
Yeah, I do think, in defense of Ballard, I'll say this. If you are out on him, which I think most people are, I don't think there was anything that he was going to say that you were going to
Correct, that's fair.
Like rah-rah about. I did like that he said that they weren't close, because the owner didn't say that. 8-9 is not close. He's had a comment, you lose on the last play of the Super Bowl, that's close. 8-9 and missing the playoffs is not close. So at least he recognizes that. And he also recognizes that his process and philosophy are wrong. The problem that I have, Jake, is that how do you change those things overnight?
Right.
How do you change those things overnight in year 9 with a roster that largely is going to be back and a coaching staff that largely is going to be back and a front office that is back? How do you change those things? You know, this is not a back to the drawing board situation for the Colts because they're not in a position to go back to the drawing board. They're running everything. They're running it back. And they can say all they want about, well, you know, they're going to lose Ryan Kelly maybe or EJ Speed. Like, those are like little tiny changes that all NFL teams go through. The core of this team is largely going to remain the same. So you are pushing your chips in on a general manager changing his philosophy in year 9 magically, and a core that has been around for 3, 4, 5 seasons, hell, sometimes 6 seasons for some of these players, changing their winning and leadership ways in years 5, 6, 7.
Derek, I think, and this was pointed out with a couple of weeks left in the season, somebody had this epiphany. Chris Ballard told a story. It's interesting because Chris Ballard, during his press conference, somebody asked about A.D. Mitchell and the disappearing act of A.D. Mitchell. You know, T.Y. Hilton's nickname was the Ghost. That should be A.D. Mitchell's nickname, right?
No.
And Chris Ballard said, let me tell you a story about A.D. Mitchell and what it meant for Alec Pierce. He said, I drafted A.D. Mitchell, and Alec Pierce came in and said, Chris, what's this mean for me? He said, it doesn't mean anything. And he said, and so Alec Pierce went out, and man, he worked harder than he's ever worked. And what a year he had. 700-plus yards, big plays here and there. And he's like, it was incredible what Alec Pierce did for himself because of A.D. Mitchell. But what Chris Ballard seemed to not notice at that time was that a funny thing happened. Alec Pierce focused himself and elevated his technique because he saw competition. And yet he didn't create that for any other position, including the quarterback, anywhere else. They Anthony Richardson, they handed the keys and said, let's go. And, yeah, sure, they had Joe Flacco, but it wasn't like when they came out right away and said, Richardson is the starter, and we're running it back. He created I'm going to use culture. It's one of my least favorite words, but an atmosphere. He created an atmosphere of complacency because guys looked and went, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm not really at any
I'm not threatened.
Right. I've done what we do for a living now for how long?
Yeah, 20-plus years.
Okay.
Specifically radio, but media for 35.
Right? When you and I did the show together, over the radio show together, how many days do you recall me taking off? Like personal days?
Yeah, not a lot. Mostly when you were out is because for IndyCar travel.
Yeah.
And then there were like, I think 2 or 3 trips you'd take like an annual thing with the Terhan.
Right.
That was about it, which is 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
So the reason that is because I'm wired as such that I've always been paranoid of relinquishing my seat because of the fact that somebody else could come in to fill in and then expose that they can do it as well as I can. I never have been comfortable. I'm always looking over my shoulder. And I think most people in the work world feel that way about their job. You want athletes to feel the same. You want them to feel like they always have to be pushing themselves to better themselves, and the Colts didn't create that.
No, and I think, the unique situation that we had is that exact thing happened with us, where I came in and was just as good or better than what you were doing, but we were lifting each other up because we were teammates. You could have been Marshall Faulk when Peyton Manning came in and said, you know what, I'm good. But instead, you decided to just kind of let that kind of move on. So I appreciate that. I think that's why we've always thrived. That's why we've always thrived together, is because we've had that understanding. But yeah, Jake, honestly, I think that was a mistake of mine because I didn't look at it in that prism either. I looked at it as, the Colts are re-signing these guys because they're good and proven players, and it makes sense to bring them back. I wasn't thinking, they need to be pushed at camp. I wasn't thinking that. So this is going to make me sound like a Ballard defender again. I do think that epiphany about the complacency, I think there is a reason why you wouldn't see that at the time with where we sat 365 years ago today. But the core issue for the Colts remains that their good players aren't quite good enough.
Right.
And their good coaches have not quite been good enough. And their general manager, who I honestly believe, and you may kill me for this, I think Chris Ballard is a decent general manager. I do.
I don't disagree
I think he's a decent general manager, but he's not good enough.
I think Chris Ballard, and I'm saying this as a credit to the automobile, not as a discredit. I think he's a Honda Accord.
Yeah.
He's perfectly
and
sufficient.
You've got the Honda Accord results, right?
Yeah.
You're just kind of puttering along.
Correct. But you need a Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the.
That's what you want. You want to have a higher level than that. So, my reaction to his press conference was just, I'm just highly, highly skeptical that the light bulb is just magically going to turn on in every room at West 56th Street, because that's what the Colts need. They need the light bulb to turn on for Anthony Richardson, the quarterback. They need it to turn on for the general manager, and they need it to turn on for the core group of veterans on this team. Derek. And I am very skeptical that all three of those light bulbs, bang, simultaneously turn on, and this becomes like a 12 or 13 win contending team.
You know the other thing the Colts need? And when I say this, it is people are going to laugh and say, typical Query, right? Thinking about himself. No. I don't care about the way people handle press conferences in the media. Personally, I don't care. I don't. But the media is still, even though obviously this is changing a little bit with Instagram and podcasts and everything else, the media is still the largest conduit between the athletes and the coaches and the fan base, right?
That's the purpose that it is supposed to serve. Yes.
Just as Anthony Richardson needs to spend an entire offseason learning footwork and learning mechanics and learning accuracy, just as Liatu Latu needs to spend an entire offseason learning every single play energy and reading double teams and creating another spin or whatever it may be. And just as Juju Brents needs to spend an entire offseason working on his body to get healthy to be on the field, Shane Steichen needs to spend the entire offseason with media training, figuring out how to address the media, how to be transparent but not maybe overly transparent, but how to not create continued storylines that put his players and his bosses in bad position. And I'm not saying Shane Steichen's a bad guy. I like him. Limited exposure I've had to him, liked him. Thought he was a really nice guy. And he knows football. He knows ball. That's great. But when you're coming out and you are throwing your quarterback under the bus and then you're having to come back and walk that back because you said things your general manager didn't like, and then at the end of the year you say one thing and your general manager holds a press conference and goes, no, that's not actually the case. I think you said it best, Eric, every button that Shane Steichen was publicly asked to push on behalf of the franchise, he pushed the wrong way.
Yeah, he made the wrong choice every single time. It was a masterclass in doing and saying the wrong thing. And, for Shane, you can be a football dork and still be an effective messenger. Sean McVay's a football dork, and he still knows how to message in front of media. Now,
right.
He's had more experience than Shane has these last couple of years with the Rams. And I hope that he learns from that, because I still think he's a gifted offensive mind. I think where he got it wrong this year was, I think Shane Steichen and the offensive staff thought to themselves, okay, we know that Richardson can unleash these home run balls and uncork these. Let's just be this big explosive offense. We won't worry about the dink and dunk stuff because he can't really do that. So let's tap into the big play. And they just were hunting big plays for the first 4, 5, 6 weeks. And when you couldn't get the big plays, the offense didn't do anything.
Right.
And I think that was kind of a miscalculation on his part, whereas they should have leaned into Jonathan Taylor and the running game and what they're built to do. This isn't built to be an explosive offense. Michael Pittman Jr. is not an explosive player. Alec Pierce, I guess, is, right? But you don't have a lot of explosive players on that offense. But, Jonathan Taylor and the run game and the offensive line, I think that's what they're built to do. And then you take the shots kind of when you can. So I think Steichen is kind of getting lost in the shuffle here because so much of the focus is on Ballard and the roster. But you're right. I mean, he has a long way to go here before he can prove himself as an effective head coach, too. I mean, you're relying on that, too. You're relying on the light bulb to turn on for him in year 3.
Shane Steichen this year, going into it was, hey, the way that he worked in Philadelphia and now paired with Anthony Richardson, he is going to awaken. This is the quarterback whisperer, right?
Herbert and Hurts, and he's done it before.
You know what quarterbacks Shane Steichen and the Colts made stars this year? Drake May.
Yeah.
Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
Drew Lock. Oh, my God.
Wasn't that who it was for?
Yeah, Drew, but it stings to hear that out loud, that you turned Drew Lock. Drew Lock accounted for 5 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
5 tuds.
Trevor Lawrence had his best game.
Had Drew Lock had 5 tuds in the NFL, period?
Derek, do you want to know the alarm bell that went off where we should have went? What's happening here? Feels like forever ago.
The Packers game?
They lost to Malik Willis.
Yeah. The Packers game, yeah.
Malik Willis.
And the offense was terrible.
Malik
that
Willis.
Day. Yes. Yeah,
right?
Defense was bad, and the offense was even worse.
Malik Willis couldn't beat out Will Levis, right?
Yeah, and a really young Packers roster, too, which ultimately ended up being a good team, right? But, yeah, that was when the alarm bells, you should have been like, oh, boy, this is going to be rough.
Bottom line is this. They need to – the Colts have a lot of work to do, and I don't know what – this is how it feels to me. I'm not saying this is fact. It's how it feels to me. Jim Irsay, and I want to be very clear, I mean none of this personally or as a disrespect at all, because there are a lot of things about Jim Irsay that are very likable, commendable, respectable. I don't know this, but it just feels this way. It feels like Jim Irsay has had, for the last year, a year where he has overcome a lot, and he has had his own victories from health challenges. But it feels to me like those health challenges and the focus for Jim Irsay to be healthy, to be able to again be back and watching his football team, expended all of the energy that would have gone in the old days towards Jim Irsay addressing on the weekly his football team. And it feels to me like he is, even though I know he's around, that right now there are bigger priorities for Jim Irsay. I understand and respect that 100%. And because of the way the contracts are written, that it's not necessarily that this means it's a lock, stock, and barrel, we're going to run with this forever, but rather just like with Gus Bradley. We'll wait till the contracts run out and see where things are. That's
wonder,
how it feels.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a situation where Irsay has gone through a lot of stress and chaos with the health situation over the last year and doesn't want the stress and chaos of blowing things up.
I think that's
on
fair.
The professional side as well.
I think that's fair.
Like, look, we're just – I wasn't told that. We're just kind of guessing.
Correct.
Right? But clearly this looks like a different Jim Irsay than the one in front of the airplane propeller after the Jacksonville game in 21, where he was banging the table, right? I mean, there wasn't a table out there on the tarmac, but he was banging the table about this is going to get better. And instead he's in the locker room sitting down saying, yeah, you guys really fought back in 8-9, and I'm proud of you. Ugh.
Yeah,
none
of that. I want to be very clear. None of that is
Sure.
in mockery of him, but that is fair.
But it's true. I mean, it's again, we talk about messaging with Shane Steichen. It's also what people see, and when people see that, fairly, unfairly, because people respond to me, "What do you want him to say? He's in a locker room of grown men that they're failures," and I'm like, I don't need him to curse them out, but you can't go in there and say that you're proud of winning a meaningless game against a terrible Jacksonville team in overtime to get to 8-9. That can't be said. That can't be on the script of what you're telling your team. If you're going to videotape that. Now, if it's private, fine. But if you're going to put that on Colts.com and the Colts X account or whatever, that should not be said.
Right.
Can we play a quick Jake Query game?
Oh,
okay.
My favorite kind.
Jake Query game. Now, this is something that I kind of learned from you from doing all the radio stuff, like just kind of this quick hitting thing. So this is more like almost a radio segment. I have the list of the Colts free agents.
Okay.
I only want you to categorize these in 3 different categories. Must keep, definitely don't keep, doesn't really matter.
Okay.
All right? You ready?
Yep.
Ryan Kelly.
Doesn't really matter.
I agree with that. Dio.
What was it? Must keep. What's the middle one?
Definitely don't keep or doesn't really matter. He may be straddling. I think on this list, he's a must keep. If you're, if Dio was in a last year's free agent class, I would have him like 7th or 8th. And this year's, I'd have him
for
first
a similar
or second.
price tag. Must keep.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's. I still want to take more of a look at Dio,
yeah.
right? EJ Speed.
Must keep.
Ooh, really?
For a similar price tag.
He's must go for me.
Okay.
I think that's a. I think you need to
Addition by
uncouple
subtraction.
him with Zaire.
I think that's.
I think that's part of it. Misses too many tackles, and I can't deal. He's not good enough when he's good to put up with all of the bad stuff, the penalties and the missed plays and the missed tackles. Will Fries.
Must keep.
Yeah, me too. And you're going to get a discount probably. Poor him, but coming off an injury. Ashton Doolin.
I'm actually going to go with must keep.
Me too. Special teams whiz and just a good guy to have.
And he gives you depth at the receiver.
And he fights.
He does.
Right? Every time he's out there, he fights. That's exactly I know you hate the word culture. That's the culture that you want. Julian Blackman.
Probably doesn't really matter.
I think he got to go.
Yeah.
I think he's got to go. I think this was a perfect year for him.
Good player, but can't stay healthy.
I think he was playing hurt.
He regressed.
He wasn't, and they had nobody better. They really got to upgrade at safety. Molly Cox. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I would like to have Molly Cox back as your second or third guy. He's a good blocker. He's a good dude. He's not a TE1. You need to find a TE1. I don't know if you need to draft one. How about that kid from Penn State? My God.
Yeah.
What a battering ram he is. But you got to find a TE1. I think that's the biggest. TE1, RB2.
That's starting tight end, backup
QB2.
Backup
I think those are the big ones that are on there. Kylan Granson.
The entire tight end.
Who the hell cares? Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah, Kylan Granson I could not possibly care less about. Sam Ellinger.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. With Richardson, they're buds.
If Sam Ellinger was of value to the Colts in terms of what he could do on the field, he would have been on the field this year. Why would you not play him in Week 17 if he's somebody that you felt like could?
QB3 doesn't matter, right? But I think you can do worse than Sam. I would bring him back. Flacco is going to move on. I don't think it matters. I think Flacco's going to want to go somewhere where he could play. Taven Bryan. Whatever. Who cares? Right. The Mo Alley Cox of defensive linemen, right? Danny Pinter.
I actually would put Danny Pinter into the must-keep category because I like the fact that he can, even if he's Danny Pinter is. I don't know how to describe him here, but like he's that one
Swiss Army knife.
He's the one pair of snow boots you have in your closet. Yeah. You only need them like once or twice a year, but when you do, you're like, thank goodness I still have these.
Yeah,
because he could play. I mean, he played this year. He had a game where he filled in at center, did a good job.
He did well. Yeah,
he's not above a 6.5 at any spot on the line, but he can play like 3 different spots.
I can't put him under must keep because I just don't think Danny Pinter's good enough to be a must keep level player. But I think it's nice to have, even if it's somebody that is pretty mediocre to middling, it's nice to have somebody that you could plug in multiple spots.
Right.
That's where his versatility is his best component, even if, like you said, he's not more than a 5.5 or 6.5 in any spot. He can at least go in there and perform admirably. And then Grant Stewart. I mean, I'm fine with Grant Stewart as long as he's not like a starting linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, he's a valuable
he's fine. Special teams guy, whatever. He's fine. So that's your free agent. I mean, it's not a very good free agent list. And then, when you talk about outside free agents, Justin Fields.
There's a lot of talk about him.
But depending on price tag, because the Colts don't have the
Daniel Jones
money. Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, do you prefer Coke or Pepsi?
I really don't. I am completely down the middle.
What about from the diet variety?
Definitely Diet Coke over Diet Pepsi. But I'm completely for the diesel fuel version. They're both the same to me. Not the same. Obviously, they taste very different. But
to me,
I enjoy
weird.
Both.
Like I prefer Pepsi over Coke.
I think it's more crisp.
But I prefer Diet Coke over Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, me too. But I don't not with the regular sodas. But I think most people, Diet Coke is better than Diet Pepsi. Like, that's
Correct.
not an opinion thing. That's fact.
Diet Pepsi tastes too diety.
Yeah, it's just not. They don't have the formula.
But
right.
I think Pepsi.
I'm not a soda drinker. Huh? I don't drink soda. The only thing that I really drink is water.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not a soda guy.
You go to a Colts game, you get a Pacers
bottle
game.
of water. Yeah, I get a Dasani.
You go to a Yankees game and you get a hot dog. What do you get with it?
Deer Park water, baby.
Okay.
Brought to you by Deer Park Water. That's good water. Sorry, that's the Yankees' old PA voice, Bob Shepard.
Do you know that that Bill Gates? I saw a video once where he was part of a company that actually is doing bottled water that is extracted from and then filtered through from poo. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, and they're taking all the impurities of the feces out of it, right?
Well, I would hope.
So then you can still drink it.
Yeah, I would hope.
Yeah.
Would you buy that?
I mean, if they could guarantee me that there were there was no more bad stuff from the poo, then sure. I'm a water drinker. That's what I drink. I drink water.
If they said,
and occasionally high noons.
If they said this is purified from the wastewater treatment plant of the Indianapolis Sewer Company.
Yeah.
And it's now filtered, bottled, and sent to your house, you would drink it.
Yeah. I'm a trusting person. That doesn't really bother me. How about Zach Ertz at tight end? He's a veteran. How old's Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz got to be mid-30s now, right?
Yeah.
Had a great season with the Commanders. His first.
Somebody asked me this question. Zane Gonzalez. Zane Gonzalez hit that field goal that won for the Commanders, right?
The doink and in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the first time in the history of the NFL playoffs that a team won off a field goal that was kicked by a guy who also has a teammate where their first and last letter in their name is Z?
Sorry, what?
Is that the first time in NFL playoff history?
Yeah.
Where the game was won, kicked by a field goal,
yeah.
Who, along with a teammate, has a name where the first and last letter is Z?
I don't know, Jake. I don't know the answer to that question.
It's a fair question, isn't it not?
It's very weird that you
What's
thought
weird
of that.
about it?
It's very strange that you thought of that. It's not Gonzalez with an S. It's with a Z.
It's Zane Gonzalez with a Z,
and
then Zach Ertz is his teammate.
But you mentioned the Commanders, and let's move on as quickly as possible. That gets into our Hoagie and Hero of the Week.
Don't you find that fascinating? I mean, it's the rarest letter in the alphabet, other than X, probably.
Well, I end with a Z, Schultz. I love signing my name because of the Z at the end. Z in cursive is a lot of fun. You could do a lot of variations with that.
Nobody cares about that fact.
Hoagies and Hops, Hoagie and Hero of the Week. Brought to you by our friends at Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com for catering options. Planning a Super Bowl party? Maybe the Eagles are in it? Hoagiesandhops.com to get your Sandos. This here is the brotherly love. Fits Philadelphia, right? I don't need to explain that to you guys. We have some delicious turkey, which just fell out of my sandwich. Some salami, some ham, some Prove, LTOOO. And on the Licio's bread, really delicious. Hope I lost some lettuce.
What's the OO?
Olive oil. Really, really good. Here, let me take a bite before I... It's not the Italian, right? It's not the hog. It's a lot of meat, but it's meaty.
It is.
It's like the... What's the... I mean, girth almost sounds sexual.
Stout.
No, I mean... for lack of a better term, it is the girthiest. Is that a word, girthiest? Like, girth doesn't just have a sexual connotation, right? That can mean other things besides what people would normally use girth for, right? Let me look up girth in Webster's, just real quick. Hold on, just stand by here. Girth definition.
Hoagies and Hops is great people. They're great people.
The measurement around the middle of something, especially a person's waist. This says that's not what I've. Person's waist is not what I've heard for girth.
How old are you?
I mean, am I right? Who says girth for your waist? Like, hey, what's your pants girth? What's your girth there for your pants? Like you're going to your tailor, right?
What grade are you in?
A band attached to a saddle used to secure on a horse being fastened around its belly. Take that horse for a ride. In its girth. It's a great sandwich. Brotherly love.
I've
really,
been on the planet
it's a really
now
good sandwich
for more than half a century.
Really sando.
And somehow I wasn't always the most mature individual. I got in a lot of trouble in school for laughing at things that I thought were funny and whatever else. But I outgrew that. And I try to be a professional broadcaster now, and yet, Derek, like, it's like recess in here. Like, be a professional. I know it's a good sandwich.
I know. Let's calm down. Let's be professional. It's probably grossing some people out. So, brother love is our sandwich. Blood on the tracks.
This is fabulous.
Yeah. We're going through the core beers at Chili Water Brewing Tap Room directly
This is perfect for this time of year.
from Hoagies and Hops. Hang on.
Warm you up a little bit with the Blood Orange IPA. It's got a little bit of that taste of the citrus to it, but it is smooth as can be. You can get a little bit of hop, right?
Yeah, it's good.
But, man, it is good.
It's sweet. She actually uses this in the hummus that they make, the house-made hummus as well, the blood on the tracks.
And I just love it going into Hoagies and Hops. Chili Water's right there.
It's the best.
Order your sandwich, and then you go over, you get yourself a pint of beer. People are watching the games. I mean, that's a weekend, man. That's
I went there like 4:30 right when the Eagles game was starting. It was crazy on Sunday. We were talking Commanders. Jaden Daniels, Hero of the Week. I think you can go in a lot of different directions because it's not just the quarterback. But, this Washington franchise, Jake, I'm on the very tail end of this. But the first Super Bowl that I really remember, I have faint memories of the Niners, Broncos, and then the Giants beating the Bills because we were at my cousin's house. It was a big deal. But the first one that I really have concrete memories of was Redskins back when they were called that, and Bills in '91. And people, I think, really historically have underrated that Washington team was 14-2. They were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
It was a really good team. And they had just ended a run where they had gone to the Super Bowl 4 times in 10 years. They had won 3 of them.
Well, with
3 different quarterbacks,
3
right?
different.
Yeah. Doug Williams, Mark Rippon, Joe Theismann.
Correct.
And they were.
And did they lose one?
Yeah. They lost to the Raiders?
That's correct.
Marcus Allen Raiders. 83?
Was that Jay Schrader?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Am I right, Ray?
Maybe.
Jay Schrader went to one of them, didn't he? I thought for sure he went to one.
Okay, well,
either way.
We'll look that up. My point is that, they weren't the Steelers, they weren't the Cowboys, but if you were to ask somebody in January of 1992, name the 5 most respected NFL franchises right now.
Correct.
Washington be one of them. I mean, they were like a pillar franchise, and they've really been awful pretty much ever since. They hadn't won a playoff game since 2005. I think they had won 4 playoff games in that span. They hadn't won a divisional game, so they'll have a chance to go to an NFC Championship game for the first time since that 91 season. And for Jaden Daniels to come in year 1 and do this and have the Commanders be good and win a playoff game, it's a huge deal. And you're in the post-Snyder era. You have all the stains from one of the worst owners in pro sports and all the grossness with the mascot and the harassment and everything that went into it behind the scenes in Washington. And finally, you have this happy, good team that you could be proud of. And quarterback that you could be proud of.
My sister texted me right after that game and said, you know what? I knew very little about Washington, but I'm really liking Jaden Daniels and his composure and just that team, right? Terry McLaurin
he's
right
awesome.
Here. And
he's a great guy.
They are very likable, for sure.
Terry McLaurin taking 15 picks after his Ohio State teammate who ended up here with the Colts, who is now on his, I think, 3rd NFL team.
After Paris Campbell, right?
Yeah. Who had 4 catches this year or something. Paris Campbell, nice guy, but yeah, that was the wrong pick. You can say what you want. Well, if the injuries hadn't happened, he would have been a monster.
The sandwich is good.
If it was going to happen for Paris Campbell, it would have happened. So congratulations, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders and our friends at Chili Water Tap Room and Hoagies and Hops. Hoagie and Hero of the Week. Check them out. 42nd Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com. More on the NFL playoffs. Did Wildcard Weekend reveal just how far the Colts are away from really contending?
It revealed something else, too.
We're going to talk about that. Also, I feel like I have a lot of Jake Query things. I had a Jake Query thought pop into my head last night, and I tweeted it out, and it was a fascinating discussion. Sometimes those are hit and miss, but I think it's a good discussion. We'll have that as well. Plenty of basketball to get to, too, and the College Football National Championship set between 2 of Jake's absolute favorite teams in Ohio State and Notre Dame. We'll talk about that, too. Episode 219. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
Tonight.
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks for joining us. Another frigid and snowy day here in central Indiana. We've had a rough January so far. It's brutal. My side street is, you can ice skate on it.
Yeah.
You can ice skate on my side street. I mean, it's really bad. I love living in Indy. There's a lot to love about living in Indy. I love the proximity to things. I love being near downtown where I can just shoot down there and it takes me less than 10 minutes. Infrastructure-wise, it's just a disaster. Like, I go visit my parents in Carmel are on a side road that's attached to a side road, and you go there and you drive, and, like, classical music starts playing over the speakers and chandeliers come down from the sky. Like, I can understand the appeal of living in the donut counties where they actually don't leave you completely on your own when it comes to that.
You're a street story about.
It's a joke. I mean, even you would admit that as a lifelong Indy guy. I mean, if we ever had like a real snow, like 2 feet or something crazy, I wouldn't get out. I'd have to dig myself out of my own house. And the taxes that I pay. Taxes. Thanks to Bailey and Wood Financial Group for making sure that I was able to purchase my home, which I did going through Mike and his team to get approved for my first home mortgage. And you could do the same thing at BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME. For our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group, 5-star customer service, branch locations all over the great state of Indiana, including a couple in Florida, and they give back to their community.
Can I show you something I'm very proud of? Speaking of Bailey and Wood.
Sure.
Very proud of this. Very proud of this.
Oh, is that your credit score? Nice. Exceptional. Good job. It's got your real name on there.
It does.
It's always weird to see stuff with Jake's real name.
But come on now. Are you not impressed?
No, that's good.
You're not pleased for me?
No, I mean, my dad's a retired. Oh, what is it? What is Jake's? You want to say?
Yeah, I'll say it. I don't care.
Okay, Clarence. Clarence Query, CQ.
There we go.
Did you guys not know that?
I'm extremely.
Well, Rake didn't know that? Oh, wow. Yeah.
Why would Rake know my credit score?
I don't know. I guess only your.
Is that like, should I not be saying that? Is that like some sort of.
I mean, you and Rake go way back and you're really good
thing?
friends, but I think that's only for like inner circle best friends to know.
By the way, for those, would you like to throw the number out there for those that aren't watching? Because I'm very proud of it.
Your credit score?
Yeah.
No, don't be a weirdo. That's weird.
Well, you just,
no, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to go back to sports here.
Okay. It's pretty good, right?
I said it's a good credit score. Congratulations. You're a grown-ass man. You should have a good credit score.
What's yours?
I don't know. I haven't had to look it up in a long time. I'm sure it's great. I've never been, we don't have any debt except the house.
Have you looked it up?
My dad was a retired CPA, so he hammered all these principles into me. And also, I was broke like throughout my 20s.
Do you want to bet my credit score's higher than yours?
What do you? It's not a competition.
It is.
I could go get a loan just like you can. I don't want a loan. I don't need a loan.
Granted, with Bailey and Wood.
Yeah. I mean, but I could. Yeah.
I'm not saying
we're doing okay.
What about your rate?
Schultz Media LLC is doing just fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't the Colts? Couldn't you argue that they look even farther away? I mean, the Broncos are pretty good. Broncos are pretty good.
They're okay.
Colts should have won that game, but the Broncos are pretty good, and they got blown off the field by Buffalo.
Right.
Steelers are pretty good, and the Colts actually beat them. But Steelers, really, it was a 28-14 blowout. Ravens were never really threatened in that game. And I just think this tier system in the NFL where you got tier one, and it's, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Philly.
That's like where my credit score is.
Yeah. The Lions. And then we're talking about the Colts as if they're on tier 2, and really the Colts are on tier 3 right now, where they're not even in this. I know the Texans won. They're not even in this Chargers and Broncos and category. They're closer to like the Dolphins.
This is the tough thing for the Colts, and I'm not trying to kick them while they're down, but this is the tough thing. I might have mentioned this to you last week. I was on the phone with a friend of mine that lives in Champaign, Illinois. He's a big Bears fan. And we were talking about the Bears and the disappointment of the Bears season and having the number 1 pick, and Caleb Williams. And he's in the middle of the conversation, he said, the funny thing, though? I said, what's that? And he said, it's amazing how irrelevant the Colts have become.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
He's like, I don't hear about them at all. And it's hard in the NFL to be irrelevant. But I think we need to remind ourselves that outside of the city of Indianapolis or the state of Indiana, the Colts are the New Orleans Saints. They're I'm trying to think of another franchise even that they're just there. I mean, the Raiders, at least, because they're in Las Vegas, get talked about. Maybe the Cardinals. just kind of there.
Yeah.
There's nothing about them. What is their identity right now?
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Their identity is, and this is true probably of all markets, and I'm the ringleader of this, so guilty as charged. We are a sports market and fan base that is totally chasing the past. IU basketball,
Yeah.
IHSA tournament,
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
the Colts, Peyton Manning. Pacers are, obviously playing pretty good ball, but the Indianapolis 500, I mean, I love the 500, and it's a great event.
There'll always be that
but
element
its
of
prime
what
is
it was. Yeah.
what it was,
What
right?
it was. Yep. Even though it's in a good space right
It
now.
is in a good space. But
Yeah, no, I we used to do the Q95.
we love nostalgia.
We used to do the Q95 pregame show at Slippery Noodle. We did it for 9 NFL seasons, however long that was. And in the early stages of that, like 2012, 13, 14, remember, we're coming off the Manning era, but luck and right? They're winning and going to the playoffs and all of that. And I remember they would play the Dolphins or the Bills, and you'd see all of these Marino,
Totally.
Andre Reed,
And we'd laugh
Thurman
about it, right?
Thomas, and we'd be like, man, can you imagine if the Colts ever got there? And now you go to a Colts game, and what do you see? You see Dallas Clark and Reggie Wayne and Peyton Manning. And yeah, I mean, you'd see Quentin Nelson jerseys, you see Jonathan Taylor and all of that too. But, like, you're holding on to what they used to be because there's not a lot to celebrate in the now, and that's kind of sad. Steelers are in a tough spot too because they're like a tier above the Colts, but it's the similar
by much.
purgatory, right? Where it's like, hey, that's great. We haven't had a losing season, but who cares? You're not going anywhere. You're the freaking Steelers. Like, the Steelers, if you're a Steelers fan, your goal isn't to make the playoffs and win a wild card game. It's to win the freaking Super Bowl. You're the Steelers.
The Steelers are Penn State, right?
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But their expectations should be Ohio State. They're the Steelers. They're one of the franchises in the league.
What are the 4 best franchises in the NFL? The 4 biggest, most historic, everybody loves them franchises.
Steelers, Packers, Cowboys. Am I missing one?
I think. You guys are all going to disagree with me. And I'm going to show
Niners?
my age. I'm going to show my age. Niners will be way up there.
Okay.
You're going to laugh. The funny thing is we didn't say Patriots.
Yeah.
They got more Super Bowls than anybody.
But nobody
right?
likes them. You
Correct.
said likes.
Raiders.
Yeah, okay, fine. National fan base,
Right.
Black and silver, right? Silver and black, like
uniforms
yeah,
are pretty awesome.
Fine, I'm not going to dispute that. Yeah, I would. I think those first 3 are clearly defined, though.
Yeah.
Steelers, Cowboys, Packers.
Yeah,
those are the 3.
Niners probably are 4. And then I think you have right there looking in through the window are the Raiders and I guess you'd say Patriots, but the Patriots are the obnoxious rich kid that just got to the party because he's got the best car, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, Raiders I've almost always sort of aligned somewhat with the Knicks, where they have a lot of people that like them and have suffered with them, but, like, haven't had a lot to show for it.
I mean, the Raiders are the Oakland Athletics, right?
Yeah, they've been more
Like-
successful,
Right.
than the Knicks or the A's, but yeah.
The sandwich is fabulous.
Here's the Jake Query question.
Okay.
Are the Vikings the most have won a lot without really winning anything team in pro sports? Vikings haven't gone to a Super Bowl since 1976. They've never won one. They're 0-6 in conference championship games in that span. But they're in the playoffs all the time. And I think they had a 3-13 team a couple 6, 7, 8 years ago. But for the most part, the Vikings' bad teams have been like 6-10, 7-9. But they're mostly a winning team.
At the time you sent that out, I said, are they, for the last 20 years, are they the Penn State?
Yeah.
Because they go to the playoffs, and then you know they're not going to win it.
Because a lot of people are like, well, Buffalo. And I'm like, guys, Buffalo didn't go to the playoffs for like 20 years.
I'll tell you the 2 that jump out at me as kind of equivalents. Honestly, the Twins in baseball.
Yeah, even though they had the 2 titles, but those are aging rapidly, right?
The Phoenix Suns.
That's a really good one. Honestly, somebody mentioned the Pacers, and they're not wrong.
The Pacers are also in
right.
there.
Yeah, Pacers are consistently good. They're rarely terrible.
Correct.
They both had great teams in '98, which is kind of funny to align because
Yeah.
that Vikings team in '98 absolutely should have won the Super Bowl. 15-1. You know, they missed the kick. What was it? Gary Anderson, right?
Yeah, that's
missed
right.
the kick. Yeah, against the Falcons, the Dirty Bird. Remember that, Jamal Anderson?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But
First wrestling match that I won that year. I did the Dirty Bird. I got off the mat. Yeah.
Was that only?
No, I won 7 matches that year. I was
let me-
7, 28, and 4.
Solid. Can I
Yeah.
see your Dirty Bird again?
Remember the Dirty
Yeah,
Bird?
but he did bite his lip.
Yeah, he did, and he kind of went on both legs. So it
Do
was
you remember
like
the
this.
icky shuffle? No, you're biting your lip again. He doesn't bite his lip. Did you ever do the icky shuffle?
No.
Here we go.
Is that Icky Woods?
Yes.
Bengals? Okay.
Icky shuffle.
Yeah.
Ray can help me
Okay,
out
we have
because
basketball. Vince is really mad at us because we haven't
it
really
was-
talked about the Pacers at all, and we're doing this instead. Wow, that's stupid.
Well,
That's all that it is?
yeah. It was
So it's
basically
basically just legs.
it was basically the precursor to the Dirty Bird.
Basically just legs. Yeah, the celebrations in the 80s were bad. The 90s was the first time that we really started like celebrating.
Now, quarterback for that team that was beaten by the Dirty Bird was Randall Cunningham, right? Is that right?
Yes, and Chris Chandler for the Falcons.
Correct.
Yeah.
Randall Cunningham is related to the icky shuffle. How?
No idea.
Huh?
No idea.
They both played at UNLV.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Look there.
Wow. Yeah, look at that Dirty Bird. Hell yeah. Yep. Jamal Anderson had like 2 huge seasons.
He did. He's a good player.
And then I think he was still doing some stuff for the Falcons.
He got in trouble, remember? Left behind some residue in a bathroom once.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Well, we've all been there.
No.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why I said that.
We,
Yeah, I
we
guess-
have not. No.
Okay.
When it comes to leaving nose
Okay,
candy in
yeah.
the bathroom, we have not all been there. I can't speak for Derek, okay? I
To
didn't grow up in
clarify,
Connecticut.
yes,
In
I-
Indiana, I can tell you,
yeah.
no, never been there. Not been there.
I have left residue,
I-
but not,
I did
not that residue.
No, he was
Yeah.
leaving behind a little bit of the old booger sugar, and that is not. We've not been there.
Okay, yeah. We'll get that. We'll just grab that in post. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right.
3, 2, 1. I don't know why I said that. Sorry. 3, 2, 1. Pacers playing really good basketball right now. They are, 12-3 since that Charlotte loss when they fell to 10-15.
They've won 13 of 17. They've won 6 straight by double
22
digits.
and 18.
And they just, let's just say a blowout. Without Tyrese Halliburton, who I don't think, and we're taping this on Tuesday, Pacers, again with Cleveland tonight,
Doesn't
I
look
don't
like
think
he's gonna
Halliburton's
play.
going to play.
Yeah.
But they are finding balance and playing at a really high level.
Yeah, and you hate to just credit one person, but I think the lion's share needs to go to Andrew Nembhard, right? It's
Totally.
changed the whole dynamic. But
Well-
Ben Shepherd coming back's been really big.
Jarris
too.
Walker's played well.
Obi Toppin's been much better. Obi Toppin at the beginning of the season was a disaster. Couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. He's been much better. It's looking like the team that we thought it was going to be. I mean, this has been a very good basketball team over the past month.
They're essentially where I think we thought they would be, which is right around, I think going into it, you were hoping that they would be
4th best team in the East.
correct.
Yeah.
And
They're
they
right
are
there.
right there on the cusp of it. Yep.
Yeah, it's a long season. And I fall into this trap too. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? All the cliches. But after they lost to Charlotte, I was like, oh my God, like maybe they're like really broken. The defense sucked. The offense was way off the pace of last year, no pun intended. And they just kind of picked themselves up off the floor and they've gone after it. So congrats to the Pacers. I think what we're seeing now is what we're going to see moving forward. Are they going to have bad weeks and bad 2 weeks? Sure. They're going to have a bad 10-game stretch. Every team does again this season. But I'm going to try not to overreact. Now, where I do want to react a little bit is every single time you think to yourself, okay, things are really coming together here. They're looking pretty good with IU. They take a gigantic step back.
Look,
And getting run off the floor by Iowa's fine.
Derek.
I was okay.
Listen, here's the bottom line.
They got run off the floor.
Indiana has no cohesiveness. They have good individualized players. Umar Ballo is a good player. They have good transfer players.
Miles Rice is a good player.
Miles Wright's a good player. Mackenzie Mbako, when he's on, is a good player. They have no idea or even semblance of an idea of wanting or knowing how to play with one another. They don't have the problem with Mike Woodson's formula of, you know what, we're just going to take care of the roster when it comes to us. We're going to go out, we're going to get some transfers, we're going to get, hit the portal. That's great. You get a bunch of guys in August that are wearing name tags. The problem with that is by the time October, November rolls around, they're still figuring out what to do while other teams have gelled together and are winning basketball games. Matt Painter at Purdue has a system. When you go to Purdue, you know you're going to play for the Purdue system. Caleb first knew that when he had a chance to go make money in the portal and go elsewhere as a coveted recruit and a 4-star recruit and a Mr. Basketball, and he got buried in minutes behind Zach Edey, he stuck it out because he believed in the system. He believed in the better of the good because Purdue recruits players with principle. I'm not saying Indiana's players don't have principle, but they don't have identity as a unit because the program itself's identity has been about turnover every single year. And what you see now is an offense that turns the ball over and guys that are just individually looking out for themselves because they don't know and anticipate and have a feel and a sense for what their teammates are doing. It has no cohesiveness, it has no identity, and it probably is going to miss the tournament because they got run off the floor in Iowa. Trey Galloway had arguably the worst stat line I've ever seen in college basketball in that game. Did you see his stat line?
No, I actually didn't.
He played 20 minutes.
Yeah.
20 minutes. He took 0 shots. He scored 0 points. He had 0 rebounds. He had a assist, and he had 4 turnovers.
Ooh.
He's like 30 years old, right? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is his 14th year.
Yeah,
at IU.
exactly.
So, maybe in year 15 he'll get a little bit better since we're throwing eligibility out. Yeah, I hate to do the react to each win and loss because that's kind of what IU basketball fans do. But you just can't. This can't still be happening in year 4 where you just no show. I mean, you no show. I think Zach Osterman had the stat, and I should have put it in the notes. I think Indiana's lost 11 times by 20-plus points under Woodson. 11 times in 3.5 years. I mean, that's astonishing to just get your doors blown off that often. It's the Big Ten. It's a road game. These are tough. You're going to lose. But to lose by 25 and have it be a laugher, come on, man. It can't happen. So they beat USC, and you feel good about where they're at. They're 4-1 in the league, and then they turn around and do that, and it feels like they're back to square one again.
Is the clock ticking on Mike Woodson? The answer is yes. Once Quinn Buckner's time on the Board of Trustees is up, then it's going to be difficult for Mike Woodson because that's obviously a big ally for him. I'm not saying anything people already didn't know. Indiana's going to make one more pitch, one more phone call to Boston, no doubt about it. Brad Stevens is probably, even though I think that the door might be more open than it's ever been, he's not going to come. Unlikely, right? You knew who Indiana should just say, you know what, we're just doing it. You knew who's the guy that would come to Indiana, and Indiana would be winning the Big Ten and playing in the Final Four within the next 3 years.
You mean stepping into a time machine and hiring Dusty May?
I mean,
okay, realistically,
they fell asleep at the wheel on that, right?
Yeah, I don't know who you're thinking.
Indiana always prided itself on being above everything else. Indiana didn't do signage. Indiana didn't do endorsements. Indiana, didn't pay players. None of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those rules are gone. It's the Wild Wild West. Right,
well, it's just another program, is what you always say, right?
Yeah, but you go to an Indiana game now, and it's music and video boards,
it's a lot different.
And ads all over the place, and NIL and contracts and everything else. So you've already gotten into the pool. You've already gotten in with everything else. So now's the time. You just say, you know what, the hell with it. We want a guy that wants to be here, that wants to win here, that's dreamed of coaching in Indiana, and you bring Bruce Pearl back to the state of Indiana, and you win a national title within 5 years.
I thought you were going to say Will Wade.
Bruce Pearl's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Indiana needs to do is exactly what IU football did, and I understand that those programs couldn't be more different historically, right? Where you have this blue blood banner program, and then you have the losingest program ever. But what IU football did was they said, let's just move past everything that has happened before for this program. Let's move past all of it and just embrace the now. And there are a lot of things that I love, or now past tense, loved about Indiana basketball, candy stripe pants, and traditions. And I'm not saying that they need to ditch everything, but this old guard and the good old boys club, and taking outside influences from people that played at IU and all of that. Let's move on. Let's just make a clean break from all of that.
Right.
And Indiana, there is no excuse why Indiana, especially in the NIL era, can't thrive. It should be an amazing program. an amazing one, not just a good one. Like originally, 5-6 years ago, if you would ask me, what's your ideal thought for where IU could be, I would say I would love for them to be Wisconsin basketball. At this point now in the NIL era, I say no. I want them to be just below the tier that's Kansas, Duke, and Carolina because I think they have no excuse not to be there. None.
Look at the power programs on college basketball: Iowa State, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama.
Well, look at these SEC schools, and that's where all the money's flowing.
Of course,
all the money's flowing down there. It's not just football. So yeah, that's our Indiana rant for today. And Purdue just keeps on keeping on. They absolutely crushed Nebraska. They beat up on Rutgers, who I know is not very good.
They have a system.
Yeah,
they have a system. You know what you're going to get.
Is playing unbelievably well. Caleb Furst, you mentioned, has been much better here and contributing. Their freshmen and Harrison Cox have been better. Miles Colvin's been better. It looks like they're finding the best version of themselves these last couple of games. But they got an interesting week because they got the Pac-12 road trip at Washington and Oregon. And then Butler's not even a topic right now. They're winless in the Big East. They've lost 9 straight. Got run off the floor by Providence, who's very meh, but Providence always runs them off the floor. Got beat by Creighton, who's a middling team, too, at home. They've lost 5 times at Hinkle already, and it's barely into the middle of January. I don't see a path back for them. And I'm wondering maybe if the Thad experiment just...
I know.
I really thought that he was going to come in. I think in a lot of ways, Butler and Indiana were in similar spots.
I like Thad Matta a lot.
Have somebody come in that we can trust to stabilize the program. They could be here for a couple of years. They could hand it off in a much better position to somebody else. And I don't think Butler or Indiana is going to put themselves in a position to do that, what they envision to do, sadly. We come back on the show. Jake had some VIP seats to a sports game that wasn't the Pacers the other night. We're going to talk about that. And our quick hits and Chateau Kitchen's Bite or Bowl Bleep still to get to. It's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. So I mentioned, Jake doesn't go anywhere where he can't sit front row. That's just kind of the headspace that he's in. But
Not
Jake was front row VIP for the Indy Ignites, who drew 6,000 fans for their first ever game at Fisher's Event Center. And saw your video, saw some of the other videos that people posted, and I'm very rarely blown away. I was like, whoa. This is incredible.
I was stunned by it, Derek. Indy Ignite is the top, they play in the top professional volleyball league in the United States. They are an expansion team, even though the rest of the league just started a year ago. But this is a team that plays in the Fisher's Event Center, which, of course, is owned by the ownership group of the Indy Fuel. So they are the main 2 tenants within that building. I know that volleyball is a big deal in Indiana, certainly in Muncie and Yorktown, and then over towards Avon, Carmel, Cathedral. I mean, there are great programs in Indiana. But what this team did masterfully was they went out clearly and tapped into that market. And when they asked me if I want to go to the game, I thought, yeah, okay, there'll be a couple hundred people there. No. It was packed. It was nonstop energy. They had the Ball State volleyball student section sitting behind us. They had a great PA announcer and pyrotechnics. I mean, it was a total event. And volleyball is a fast-paced sport, right? It's very exciting to watch. Yeah. They have one player, Lekator Membrameno, I believe is how you say her name, who there were 2 guys sitting next to me that had won tickets, really nice guys, Brandon and Gabe from the radio station, and immediately they're like, okay, number 7's our best player, right? And I said, well, I don't know anything about this, but clearly.
Yeah.
She was all over the place. And, was the elevation she would get on hits and going above the net and serves, it was captivating to watch. It was fun. It was nonstop energy. It was vibrant. The entire atmosphere was a home run. I was stunned by it. I couldn't believe it. I'm very curious to see. I think it has staying power. I do, because volleyball is the travel volleyball circuit and the youth volleyball circuit, and I loved that the crowd was predominantly young girls with their parents, and I mean there were men there too and adults, but I just thought it was a home run. I think it has staying power. I think it'll last. I'm curious to see from game 1 to game 2 what the attendance is.
And I think, not to give her credit for anything, but I think the timing of this couldn't possibly be better with the tidal wave behind Caitlin Clark and just women's sports in general. Like, we're just in a much better place with women's sports where people aren't looking at it like, a women's pro volleyball league? What? Instead, they're like, yeah,
Hey.
you know what? If this entertains me, I'm going to go watch it and support it.
Speaking of women's sports, how about the women's basketball team at IU Indy, right?
Yeah.
As part of our Jags report.
Let's do it.
I'll get right into that with the Jags report. We'll begin with women's basketball, by the way, as I look at my cheat sheet here. They did beat Oakland 79-73 on the road. Katie Davidson had 23 points, 7 boards. Now, they did lose this past week to Northern Kentucky, but they returned for 2 games at home in the jungle this week. Wright State, that's coming up tomorrow. That would be Wednesday for the Lady Jags. And then as well, Cleveland State on Saturday. Now, how can I get tickets? Very easily. IUindyJags.com/tickets. Again, 2 of them for the women's basketball program at IU Indy right there on campus, downtown Indianapolis, Division I athletics. Wright State on Wednesday, Cleveland State on Saturday. Now, we'll get to the men in just a second. Let me tell you about swimming, because one thing you know about IU Indy is the natatorium is a state-of-the-art, world-class facility that's had Olympic trials there, has the list of names of all of the great swimmers and divers that have come through there, and that includes some of those that are there right now, as evidenced by the fact that over the course of the last week, 18 individual first-place finishes for both men and women at Youngstown over the course of the week. 18 of them. Think about that, okay? They are back the 18th against WashU out of St. Louis. That's the 18th at the natatorium. And then, again, WashU of St. Louis, I should say, back there at the natatorium coming up the 18th. Derek, what day of the week is that? Is that a Monday?
18th is
Derek's looking at his phone. Saturday?
Saturday
the 18th.
Okay.
All right, let's get to men's basketball for IU Indy on the Jags report. Again, tickets available, IUindyJags.com/tickets. In men's basketball, they beat Detroit Mercy 95-61. 95-61, a 34-point win in the Horizon League for IU Indy. That is a record. Jarvis Walker had 20. Sean Craig, 19 points, 7 assists. Deshaun Good had 15 and 13. And how about this? Deshaun Good is your Horizon League Freshman of the Week. Absolutely love it. They are in Oakland tomorrow night up in Michigan taking on Oakland. But then Sunday at 2 o'clock, back in the jungle. Sunday at 2, IU Indy in the jungle taking on Cleveland State. So your chance still to see it. Now, a couple of other sports getting underway. I don't need you singing Guns N' Roses in my ear, Derek.
It's Sammy Hagar, isn't it?
No, it's definitely Welcome to the Jungle is definitely Guns N' Roses. Definitely Guns N' Roses. Tennis is getting ready to get underway, and the men's tennis program at IU Indy is ranked 3rd in the preseason for the Horizon League. They will be hosting Northern Illinois Saturday at the West Indy Tennis Club, so your chance to go out and watch tennis is super fun, like the volleyball, to watch in person, right? Check out at IUindyJags.com where you can get the schedule for tennis, and then track as well. Saturday, they are going to be at the Fall Creek Pavilion for the Hoosier Horsepower Classic. That gets underway at 10:30. So all kinds of sports taking place for IU Indy. IUindyJags.com/tickets is the website. Division I athletics, local products right here in Central Indiana.
Yeah, it's great. And we're going to be there for the Metros game coming up here.
When is that?
Can't wait for 25th.
Okay.
So
a week from Saturday.
A week from Saturday. Let's hit our quick hits very quickly. Ryan Grigson interviewing for GM jobs. Brought in by the Jets to interview for their vacancy. Grigson obviously has not been a GM since being fired by the Colts, but he's been consistently employed.
He has.
He was a consultant with the Browns.
Seahawks.
And the
Vikings.
Seahawks. And then the last 3 years has been the VP of player personnel for the Vikings, and seems to be a respected guy. And, you know, people may not like it here, but guys get second, third, fourth, fifth chances all the time. So,
You're right.
And he deserves that.
And he's been vindicated a little bit by the job Ballard.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't think it was ever as bad as people made it out to be. And I think he became the fall guy. Even though I don't think he did a great job here. You have to understand it was his first time on the job, right?
Right.
And so give him – I think Grigson didn't get – kind of like Frank Reich. I don't think Grigson got the excuses that were made for the other person that was with him.
Fair.
That was tied to, if you get what I'm saying there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think a lot of people excuse Chuck Pagano for being a very not very good head coach at all because they like Chuck Pagano.
Right.
And people obviously have given a lot of excuses for Chris Ballard, even though those have officially run out. Caitlin Clark-Stalker arrest. You see this? It's kind of a scary situation. Some Texas weirdo.
I looked at his Twitter account.
55-year-old.
I mean,
I'm
there
glad they found him.
Very clearly some mental health
Yeah,
issues
I mean,
there.
but I'm glad they found him and arrested him, and he's facing up to 6 years in prison. So, yeah, don't do stuff like that. It's scary. And then did you see Hinch
But
staying
just
on?
to put that in perspective, a man in Texas on his Twitter account went onto a spree. I think there's probably some mental health issues there, but he was essentially having like stream of conscious conversations with Caitlin Clark by
I'm
just
outside
consistently
Gainbridge Fieldhouse right now,
tweeting to her all the time, and then it went from in the beginning like, do you like to watch this movie, to I'm now outside your house, and then he came to Indy, and so it was like, okay, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see Hinch is staying on the IndyCar coverage with Fox?
I did.
So it looks like he's finalized the deal that via Nathan Brown and the Indy Star, and he may partner up again with the NBC booth. So they may just bring Townsend and Will Buxton.
It looks like, as of right now, as I understand it, these are offers that have been extended. It doesn't mean that they have been signed. But Will Buxton with the booth being James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell. And then I think there are a number of people in contention for the pits, notably the names I've heard, Ryan Hunter-Ray and Jack Harvey, guys that could be working in the pits. Yeah. So we'll see.
Thoughts with Townsend Bell, by the way. You see his house? My God.
Yeah.
Was he in Palisades? Is that where his house was?
I don't know if those were houses that he owned or were actually his residence. It's, obviously that's not a huge difference, but
sounded like from his tweet that's where he lived.
Yeah. I mean, terrible stuff out in California.
Yeah, just for affecting a lot of people, but man, this is a beautiful home, and just to see it reduced to ash, it's horrific, horrifying for sure. We come back, Chateau Kitchen's Bite or Bull Bleep, and we'll get you out of here. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports.
Get you out of here. People don't want to leave.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Residue.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC,
Nice snap.
mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for a final time. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz. Jake had to do the stupid icky shuffle, so we're up against the clock here, and we got to hurry it along. Chateau Kitchen's Buy It or Bull Bleep, ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures. Home transformations, that's what they're in the business of doing. They've transformed my home. They can do the same for yours. Anything on the interior of your home, kitchens, basements, bathrooms. Give our friends at Chateau Kitchens a shout and look online for their work. It speaks for itself. ChateauKitchens.com and at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook. Statement 1, Jake, Buy It or Bull Bleep. Anthony Richardson should be on a short leash next season.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I mean, I don't know if I'd say short leash, but he needs to have somebody behind him that makes him think he's on a short leash.
Yeah, I mean, I think how I'd say to that is that if he can't get things going in the first 5 or 6 games, then you gotta go.
That's
I don't think he gets the full season to show what he's going to do. So I would say yes, I'd buy that, especially if it's Fields or a proven backup that actually has a future. Statement 2: IU will not win an NCAA tournament game.
Right now, I buy it. They got to get in the tournament first.
I still think they'll make the tournament.
They only have one quad one win. It's against Penn State, and they got Illinois coming up, and then they got a tough stretch here. They got a tough.
I think they can win an 8-9 game. So I'm going to say buy it.
All right.
I think that's
does a play-in game count?
No. I mean, yes, technically, yes, it does, but that's not what I'm referring to here. And a field of 64 game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean,
No.
and I'm going to buy it. Final one, January is the worst month. Buy it or bull.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not even close, right? Not even
Yeah.
close.
Somebody got on me about it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Because February is my birthday month, so that automatically can't be the
It's
worst
forever long. It's just it takes you forever just to even. It's like when you're on a treadmill. You're on the treadmill and you get going for a while, and you're finally starting to jog, and then you look and you're like, I've done 0.2 miles.
Yeah, it's very dark and icy.
Yeah, it's all sucks.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Brutal.
Thanks to our tremendous sponsors like our friends at Chateau Kitchens. As I said, at Chateau Kitchens, Instagram and Facebook, before and after pictures. They are awesome to work with. Our friends at IU Indy.
IU Indy.
IU Indy.
Go Jags.
Jags.com/tickets. Hoagies and Hops. And Chili Water Tap Room right next door to each other, 42nd and Boulevard. And, of course, our presenting sponsor, Bailey and Wood Financial Group. For Jay Query, I'm Derek Schultz. We will see you next time, another January show, because the month is forever.
That's
Here
right.
on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, We prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.